So today's show is just going to be dedicated to me explaining the David Bedingham situation because I've been monitoring social media quite closely over the last 24 hours or so and a little bit more since the story broke about David on his move to England and everything that is happening over there. So just to give you guys a quick summary before we actually start the discussion. Two stories broke yesterday about David Bedingham, one on IRL Sport by Zaire Adams and one on Cricket Fanatics Mag by myself. Zaire spoke to the agent and Victor Pinsang. I spoke to the player and Victor Pinsang. So we're going to get two messages that are actually aligned when it comes to understanding what the real story is. So I did ask David to come on the show a couple of days ago, but we decided that it's better for him to rather just give me quotes and rewrite the story than him for coming on the live show. We felt that it will be a little bit controversial, so we're not going to have him on the show to discuss this. He has given me quotes to obviously speak about on the show with you guys. It's the same quotes that I've been using that I used in my article, which is on cricketfanaticsmag.com. So you guys can go ahead and go check that out to see what was said by David himself. But I'm going to be explaining the situation. I'm going to be explaining what has what has led to this particular situation as well from David's perspective, from all the interviews that I've had with him, from conversations I've had with him in the past, and what conversation that I've had with him recently. Now, I just want to ask from you guys as a fan base, please, to this respect myself, respect David, respect the situation, because there are and the relationship with the player as well, because there are certain things that I was told that has to stay confidential that I can't release to the public, but I'm going to be releasing things to you right now about what I was allowed to say and what I'm allowed to tell you guys about the situation. So we're going to be speaking about that on today's daily show. That's what this daily show topic is about. We'll also be briefly discussing the 33-man list of South Africans that was released with regards to the IPL. We'll be touching on that too. So we will be giving you guys a quick summary and our thoughts and opinion on this list and the players that have entered this particular mega auction. And we also will be touching on who will replace David Bedingham as well at the Western Province Blitz as well. So without further ado, we're going to get straight into this video, but don't forget to subscribe, please. Don't forget to smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel as well. Click that notification bell for all future videos. But also don't forget to subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine Monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. So go ahead and do that straight away. Without further ado, guys, let's get straight into today's video. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid. This is my co-host, Aditya, and today we're going to be chatting about the David Bedingham situation and clearing up exactly what happened with regards to this. Now, myself and David have been in contact for quite some time, ever since he made his return to cricket. It was kind of almost at the same time that both of us were coming into the cricket industry when he recovered after a very, very hectic accident that took place with himself back in December 2016. And when he made his comeback to cricket, it was kind of basically exactly almost the same time as I was coming into the industry. So some of the first interactions with players was with David Bedingham and getting his story, of course, and getting an understanding of who he is as a player. But a lot of people don't actually know that the former Wynberg boy, he was playing for Boland, and in December 2016, it was a massive accident that took place that put him out of cricket for a year. And his path of recovery, as he explained to me, was very tough. He put a lot of pressure on himself to recover quickly because cricket was his love, and he loves the sport terribly, and he just wanted to do as best as he could. And he tried to get himself back as quick as possible, and it put a lot of pressure on him. And it actually, in from his perspective, put a lot of hindrance on his recovery actually. And what he did is he decided to take that pressure off himself mentally, and that one change changed everything for him because it made him recover a lot quicker. He got back to full fitness, and since then, David has been excellent in domestic cricket in South Africa. He came back to play for Boland again after that, and he scored 790 runs, averaging in 52.66 in that. That's in his first season back after this injury. And then he went on to sign a contract with the Cobras. And what happened there was close to exceptional. I mean, he averaged 50.42 in 14 matches. That included 300s and 450s in his time there. He also, obviously, as we know, went to Durham, did excellently there too, apart from one season where he got about 30, but 33 or something like that, an average in the COVID season. He was struggling mentally a lot in that season as well, as he um, revealed to me. But overall, in his 18 matches at Durham, he scored 1,200 runs at an average of 51.28, which is a phenomenal return. Then he came back to South Africa. And now this is where everything gets complicated because he came back to South Africa and he was performing quite well. We did an interview when he came back from Durham, and I wanted to get his thoughts on where his head is at, because there's no doubt that David, with regards to the stats, was one of the best number fours in the country with regards to the stats and his ability to hit the ball and his striking ability and his ability as a batter. So a lot of us as fans and a lot of people that know him were waiting for the time that he gets called up to a SAA side at least, or or to be part of one of the squads from a test perspective. David was putting up the numbers. He was doing exceptionally well. I mean, this season alone, he's top run scorer in the four-day competition, and he scored 509 runs in 5 matches at an average of 63.62. So in my mind, and I think in many people's minds, it was a no-brainer to see him maybe get selected in the SAA side. Unfortunately, that did not take place. Um, we saw the likes of Tony Dezorzi and some other youngsters get given opportunities. Zubair Hamza. There's so many other guys that have been given opportunities. Well, Ryan Rickleton. A lot of the younger guys have been given opportunities to have their chance in the SAA arena, and David Bedingham hasn't. And when he came back, he told me specifically that he wants to play for South Africa. Now, let me just clear up what has currently happened. So basically, I did an interview with David himself, but there was also an article by Zaid Adams that was done with David's agent. This is some of the quotes from that article. He said David will be flying back to England this week. He has a 3-year contract with Durham, and he's in the process of qualifying for England. The wording here is very important, guys, for us to understand what's going on. And he needs us to spend a certain amount of days in the country as per regulations. This is Arthur Turner, his agent. This is the quotes from him directly. 2 years ago, David started a 5-year process of attaining a British citizenship, which required application for passports, etc. And plenty of paperwork has been done already. But technically, he's still an overseas player at Durham. And theoretically, he could still be selected for the Proteas. But there's been no communication from CSA's side. So this was said by the by his agent. So these are quotes that were said by his agent. I contacted David before the 4-day series. He told me that he will speak to me afterwards, and I had a long communication with him yesterday where he was speaking to me about the situation. David himself told me directly, no one has contacted me directly. I've never once expected to be called. That's entirely their decision to select the players they want. But I've heard rumors that they called me and I turned them down, and that's completely false. So that's the first thing that I have to explain. David has never gotten a call from CSA directly, according to him. I did phone Victor Impetsang as well, and I asked him directly whether he has called David and had a conversation with him. He admitted that he did not, and he said that he would plan to speak to him in Gqeberha where the T20 competition was happening. At this point, I don't think Vic knew that David was returning early back to Durham, because Durham had asked him to come earlier for his preseason, because he signed a 3-year deal with him. And they asked him to return early to train with the team to do preseason with Durham. Now comes the tricky part. A lot of people are asking, does he want to play for England? And a lot of people are asking, does he want to play for South Africa? Now, the wording here is so important. Both myself, from David's mouth, and from the agent's mouth themselves, the wording was that he is going to be qualifying, he's going to be working on qualifying to represent England. That means that he's not closing the door to play for England. We need to understand that if the opportunity arises, he will most likely take it. This doesn't mean that he didn't want to play for South Africa, and that doesn't mean that he doesn't want to play for South Africa. He hasn't directly told me, I do not want to play for South Africa. So that is something that we need to clear up. So there's going to be some people that might want to alienate David as a player, which they shouldn't do. I feel at this particular point, he needed to make a decision in his career. The fact that he hasn't been contacted for CSA, even from a SAA perspective, is quite weird, in my opinion, because I feel that he has performed exceptionally well since his accident. Like I've read out his stats, he's averaged over 50 in almost every single season that he's played since his accident, which is a phenomenal return, including amazing runs that were scored in England itself. I did ask him whether he wants to play for South Africa. I did ask him that, and he said he's going to be qualifying. He's going to be qualifying for that, with the option of being able to play for South Africa. The only reason you want to go for qualification is so that the opportunity is there available for you. So that's the information that we've gotten from David himself. That if in the event it happens that he qualifies, because from his mouth himself as well, he told me that the registration period for him is 2.5 years. So I don't think you can sign a 2.5 year deal, but you can sign a 3-year deal. And he signed a 3-year deal with Durham. And that's the case where we're sitting with now. The intention is to qualify for England right now. And I think that comes from, if I'm going to analyze the situation, I think that comes from a place of not being communicated with when it comes to CSA. Now, Bedingham would have never come back to South Africa, taken a pay cut to come back to South Africa and play locally for the Western Province Blitz, if he never had the intention of representing this country at first, But since his return, he's never been communicated with from a CSA perspective regarding the next step or his future in South African cricket. So that's where things are lying currently, where there hasn't been communication from CSA side regarding Bedingham and his future in South African cricket. So he did what I think most players would do if they were given the opportunity to, or they had the possibility of being able to play in England as a local. Obviously, currently he first needs to be registered, and that register process needs to go through before he can be considered as a local player. But if anybody had the opportunity or had an ancestral passport as a backup option where they can make double the money or salary that they could make here, I think a lot of players would probably go ahead and do that. It's crazy that there are some people that don't have that privilege in South African cricket. Unfortunately, that is true too. There aren't a lot of people that have that privilege of being able to go overseas and play. They only have one option, is that's to go through the South African route, because they might not have ancestral passports, etc., to allow them to go play overseas. So there might have been some sort of lack of communication when it comes to that, because the Victor has mentioned players like Ryan Rickelton, and there are other players too that he's mentioned that he will be speaking to at the CSA T20 competition. So I just wanted to clear up everything, to explain the situation so that you guys know. I have spoken to David. The things that I've told you, he's cleared with me, and he said that's okay, that I can mention it. And that's the situation currently. So he's going to England. He signed a 3-year deal. He's in the process of qualifying to play for England. So that is that. Now we can look at his age. We can think about how old he is, and by the time he registers and qualifies to play for England, how old he will be. He'd be around 30 when it happens. The stint with Durham, he'll be about 30, 31, I think. So if he does qualify at that point, he'll probably and South Africa. So from my perspective, I'm looking at all of this. I think South Africa could still possibly, it should be possible for them to kick up a phone and maybe talk to David about this, because um, Victor did say in his quotes on the IL story that it's better to do these type of conversations face to face. And he was planning to do so face to face with David in Gqeberha, or Port Elizabeth as it was formerly called, where the CSA T20 will be happening. But that miscommunication between what's going on um, between the selectors and what's happening domestically, that is a little bit puzzling for me. It's a little bit worrying for me. Then I think it needs to be sorted out, that there needs to be a clear communication between the players that you're looking at and the players that are going to come, that you are going to be selecting. Now, to an extent, I can maybe understand that why David maybe hasn't been um, approached before. In the previous seasons where he has scored many runs, he wasn't necessarily the top run scorer in that competition. There were other players that played more games and topped him with regards to runs scored or matches played. So in previous seasons, he wasn't the top run scorer. This was the first season in domestic cricket that he was actually the top run scorer before in the competition. So that does obviously put you on the radar of selectors at that point. So I feel that there's also a bit of bad timing with regards to this. The timing is a bit wobbly as well. If Victor did not know that he was going to be leaving early to Durham, we could forgive him for that, because for not being having spoken to David yet, if he was planning to speak to him before. So yeah, that's just some of the facts that I have. That's the facts that I found out. The story's doing really well at the moment. But as you guys know, I've cleared up the facts behind the story. Um, so I did ask him direct. Yes, Lawrence is sending me a question. Did you, Khalid? You did ask him directly if he wants to play for SA. He didn't exactly have you straight answer, did he? Like I said, he still wants to. He wants SA as an option on the side. Not good enough. I don't think it's about having an as an option as a side. I think I think it was he wanted to play for SA, but he's never been contacted, and he wants to play at the highest level. And I'm trying to defend the player over here, or do any of those type of things. But an opportunity arose for him to go and play for Durham, and part and parcel of that is playing for a certain amount of time will get you qualified to play for England as well. And there's paperwork involved with that as well, as the agent has said. But I can understand his grievances or his worry from his personal perspective, because the opportunity is there for him to go make almost double the salary in England, right? As a to play in county. But after 4 seasons in South African cricket and not being contacted, or not being having a possibility, or even a chance to play SAA, even I'm talking about even SAA. I'm sure if the selectors had to speak to him and say, you know what, um, we are fine with you. With you playing SAA cricket, we want to see what you are capable of. I think then it would have been a whole different story altogether, maybe for David. I'm just speculating. That's not fact. I'm just speculating over here based on David and the person that I know. I think if they did contact him, and I think if they did reach out to him and say, "Look here, we are interested in, and we see a future for you in South African cricket. We're going to select you in the SA8 squad. Show us what you are have, what you're capable of there." Or selected him within a test squad to learn from the environment, etc. Then I think he would maybe feel that SA are willing to invest in him. But that conversation never happened. So I feel that maybe with his agent and David himself thought that the best thing for him to do is obviously sign a long term deal with Durham, and that's the current situation. So it is a complicated one. It's also the timing is a little bit wonky as well. But he has terminated his contract with Western Province. That's the facts. And he has gone to Durham and he has signed a 3-year deal. And he will be qualifying to play for England. Ultimately, that is the facts. So that's where we lie. Aditya, is there anything you want to add to this or chat to me or talk to me about?
It's an unfortunate situation for for South Africa in general, and one would imagine that CSA would have learned its lessons from 2016-17 and even 18 when there was a massive exodus of players in the domestic system moving to England or to other greener pastures to play cricket, and that had a knock-on effect on the national team because that transition phase that we kept talking about post the retirement of a bunch of great players just seemed to extend, and a lot of that frustration was evident with stakeholders in the team as well as the public and Cricket South Africa and so on. It was journalists referred to it as the doom and gloom of South African cricket. Now, when you have such a talented player not even receive some sort of communication from Cricket South Africa, I think that's quite disappointing. And I hope that there are amends made there because ultimately it is David Beddingham's decision whether he wants to play in South Africa or whether he wants to pursue a career in England. That's his decision to make. But I think South Africa needs to do what it takes to at least chat with a player, to at least get a sense of David's perspective, because
Mm.
you don't want to lose more talent to England. We've seen what it's done to South African cricket, and I don't think they can afford that anymore.
Mm. And yeah, and the situation is quite clear. I know some people might be thinking that he's juggling around, but it's not as simple as that, you know. And the answer is pretty clear. I'm going to qualify to play for England, and that's the simple ideology. That's the situation currently. It wasn't how he always felt. Things have changed, and if I have to look at the situation and the timing of all of this, etc., he was probably very hurt. It probably very hurt when he wasn't selected in the SIA side, topping the standings, doing so well as he is, where other players around him are getting opportunities for when they're performing well. He probably felt really hurt by that decision for them not to maybe put him in the SIA side, for example, and not making that team. Um, but yeah, it's something that I think is a bit worrying because I feel that communication from between CSA and players should be, especially the top players in the country, there should be an open book between the two. They need to obviously make sure that they communicate with players and let them know exactly where they stand so that they can make decisive decisions. Because if they're making decisions without that, there's certain things they are not allowed to say contractually. Also, there's certain things that they might not be able to say or do. Um, it's very difficult. For example, back in the day when they were signing Colpack deals, players couldn't sign a Colpack deal and say they want to still play for South Africa. They had to say they want to play for England. That was part and parcel of the contract. So it makes things tricky, this whole situation. It is a tricky one and it is a hurtful one. I think a lot of people that were fans of David are going to be sad about this news and that this is happening. But it is what it is. We need to focus now on the players have that are in the setup and are going to be playing for South Africa. We interviewed Ryan Rickleton yesterday, who's in the squad, um, who's put up the numbers, etc., and he's part of the squad. There's Calverena in the squad now, a new guy that's coming in. There's still other players that are doing well as well in domestic cricket. So we do have a lot of players that are in domestic cricket. This was a very sad story, and I am very sad to see him go. But all the best to David. Um, and we sit here. That's where we sit right now with the situation.
With players moving to other countries, that's obviously their decision, and sometimes Cricket South Africa can't do much about it, but that communication channel should always be on. At the same time, I think players who've gone and established themselves in England, Cricket South Africa should continue to have that conversation with them as well, because it would give them insight as to why they continue to stay on in England. I think it's important for Cricket South Africa to continue talking to Dane Villas and Simon Harmer and Steen Van Zyl and Tuan Olivia, who's obviously back in the setup. But it's important to have this conversation with them as well. Because Dane Villas has talked extensively about why he likes his life in England and how it has worked out for him. Uh, but that's also an important lesson for South Africa, and Cricket South Africa can learn from that experience and try to provide more security to players and certainly improve their communication, because in all of this, I think the one thing that is possibly most regrettable is the fact that the communication wasn't spot on, and that Cricket South Africa didn't do everything in their control to be able to manage the situation. Ultimately, they can't control whether or not David wants to pursue a career in England. That's entirely his choice. But I think everyone would have felt a lot better about this situation if there had been a discussion of some sort.
Mm. And I don't know if Vic decides to fly up to England and have a conversation with him. We don't know if his mind will change or if he calls him and his mind will change. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, this news broke yesterday. I don't think. Um, yeah, this news broke. We broke the news yesterday. Both sides actually almost identical times in a way. And we weren't thinking. The funny thing about it is we were thinking on the same wavelength, and we weren't even in communication with each other, and yet we still broke the story almost exactly the same time, the two of us. So, um, uh, you have to commemorate Zaire as well for fitting the story as well, and yeah, and putting it out there as well. Um, I needed to speak to David directly and find out what his focus was, and it's clear. It is clear by the contract with Durham that he signed. It's clear by him saying that he's going to qualify for England. It's clear by his agent saying that he's now in the process of qualifying for England. That he, if the opportunity comes and England offer him a position to play for England, he will probably play for England. That's the situation that we are currently in. So yeah, let's move on from this. I think we can move on from this. I don't think. Do you want to go through some of the comment section over here, maybe? Um, yeah. This is an excellent point by Lawrence. Focus on the players we have, and that's the pipeline. Forget about Bedingham now. He's made his choice, respect it, and move on, and we will rise. And that's true. That's what we need to do right now. There's players that we need to focus on that are right here, right now. Like the 33 main players that are in, or some of the 33 names that are in this mega auction. So Aditya, um, I think let's have a chat about it. I think it's something that we need to talk about. That's another breaking news type of story that we need to talk about, because that was coming out. That came out over the last couple of hours. It came out, and good to speak about it. I want to try and see if I can share the list with you guys on screen while I'm busy. Slides. This is something new. Okay, so I'm gonna share screen, and I'm gonna share my Chrome tab, and I'm gonna share this one. So what we do know, what the headline is of this particular story is, of course, is um, that Deval Brevis, of course, is in the side. I mean, not in the side. Sorry, in the mega auction. And we've got a couple of names that we can show you guys, of the list of players that have been selected. As you see over here, they are Quentin de Kock, Faf du Plessis, Kagiso Rabada, Imran Tahir, David Miller, Mashanta Lange, Aiden Markram, Debrey Shamsi, Rassi van der Dussen, Riley de Sou, Marco Jansen, Lungi Ingidi, Dwayne Pretorius, Henry Klassen, Keshav Maharaj, Yanaman Malan, Zubair Hamza, Wayne Parnell, Darren de Pavlon, Sasanda Magala, Antila Pichlquayo, Deval Previs, Ryan Rickleton, Donovan Ferreira, Gerald Coetzee, Nandre Berger, Michael Pretorius, Corbin Bosch, Otniel Bartman, Kwesi Gumede, Dwan Janssen, Bayes Swanepoel, and Johan van Dijk. And it's interesting to see what's going to be taking place in this particular auction. You can read the story obviously on cricketfanaticsmag.com. As you can see, we've put it up over there for you guys to be able to read it. So you guys can go ahead and have a look at what we had to say over there. Yeah, but let's chat about that, Aditya. Some interesting names being thrown into this auction. Uh, I'm getting a consensus that the IPL asked for more South Africans to enter in this particular auction, with the possibility of it being in South Africa. It would be quite smart if that was the thought process when it regards to asking more players to enter the auction. If South Africa does get the IPL, it will be a very, very smart move for them to get more South Africans to be a part of teams. And now with 10 teams that are available now in this competition, it makes it even more exciting because there's more spots available. Very interesting names over there. Which ones do you think will get a contract, Aditya, if we look at some of them? Um, Besides the obvious names like Faf and KG and Rassi and
Yeah.
Yanaman and all of the guys that India's already played against and been punished by. Uh, besides those names, who do you think will probably pick up contracts?
I think that will be determined by the base price. So, and I do think that South African players have been quite smart about that. Because as you said, KG, Faf, Quinton, these guys will still get picked, despite being at the 2 crore uh, base amount, which is the highest. But even I think guys like Rassi should be in the Taviresh Shamsi should be in the Aiden Markram should be in the and Aiden Markram certainly, with the fact that he's contributing with the ball as well. But if you look lower down the pecking order, that's where you really get your surprises. Let's not forget Gerald Coetzee would have played for the Rajasthan Royals had the IPL not been postponed after the COVID outbreak in 2021. So Gerald Coetzee would have played for Rajasthan Royals, and there's no doubt that other franchises will be looking at him. Marco Janssen and Dwan Janssen, they're going for, I think the base price is 20 lakhs each. So, I think they can be prospects. David Brevis, he's obviously on the radar of IPL teams, and they're going to look to invest in him as early as possible also. So the fact that Mike Hassan and the head coach of RCB Sanjay Bangar are they're already after him on Instagram. Who knows? He may just play for RCB,
Yeah,
and it would be a good deal. Um,
I can't see any
and
other. I can't see any. I can't see how RCB will let him slip through their
Dwayne
fingers though. It's like
Pretorius, Dwayne Pretorius, death bowling. I think any IPL team, certainly if whether irrespective of where they're playing, there's a lot of value in specialist death bowlers, and seeing how Dwayne Pretorius has done, I do think he should be in contention as well.
hmm. Talking about Deval. Sorry for getting in there. And there is a little bit of lag on the side, so you
No
went
worries.
quiet for a while. But I think that's me. Well, talking about Deval Brevis, I don't see how RCB will. It doesn't make sense to me logically. If I was in the position to let Deval Brevis slip through their fingers, I think I would going hard for Deva Brevis because of what comes with him, the commercial aspect of it that will come with that. Even though I wouldn't want so much commercial pressure on a guy like Dewald, because he's still young, I wouldn't want that for him. But when it comes to that, I think there's too many things about him that just fits the profile of RCB, particularly the AB connection. Um, but it might be better for Dewald personally as a player to go to a team that is maybe new. I think because I think there will be a lot less pressure on him to perform then, and you'll get the full experience of what the IPL is about. Because experiencing the IPL with AB at your side is not necessarily a way to experience the IPL for what it is, because you're going to be living in a fairy tale bubble of what it is actually like. Because AB is just an extraordinary IPL cricketer when it comes to that. He's just he's in a different bracket. He's an outlier when it comes to any South African in the IPL tournament.
You know, with players as young as David, and obviously these guys have been these guys have been on the radar of IPL teams for a long time. Oftentimes they pick players at a young age at a low base price so that they can groom them for a period of time. It's it's value for investment because you basically groom a player for a year or so, and then 2 years later they'll probably give you that return on investment, as they call it. So, and I agree with Werner's comment here that other IPL teams are just going to bid for Daywalt to mess with RCB's press. I totally agree. That is certainly an option, and the only individual who stands to benefit from that will be Daywalt. Uh, but um, yeah, look, I think this is interesting. We how the auction dynamics play out will be quite interesting because um, they need to figure out where these different players that we've just talked about will fit in, and how they really add to the team dynamic. Certainly.
Breaking news as well that this came in now as well. The chairperson of the disciplinary hearing into allegations of misconduct against Proteas men's coach Mark Boucher, senior counsel advocate Terry Matau, has in a ruling postponed the matter for the hearing to be held in the week commencing 16 to 20 May 2022. So they've put a number on it, a date on it, so we know exactly where the hearing will be happening from that perspective. So yeah, here's a quick summary I can read to you. The matter was set down on 26 January 2022, and a few days before the matter sat, the parties agreed that it would not proceed, but will use the date to agree on a timetable, and they've agreed on that particular date. So yeah, interesting. It will happen obviously after the New Zealand tour, which starts on 17 February to 1st of March 2022, and the Bangladesh tour on 18 March till April 2022. So after the Bangladesh series in May, that's when that will happen. So that's an update for you guys on that. Yeah, thinking about the IPL and all of those type of things, as we know, it will also be kind of happening in a time where South Africa will be playing some games as well, Aticha, if we know the timeline. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be selected for South Africa when it comes to that. If some of the players are going to be in the IPL auction, or they go. I'm sorry, not auction, but will be playing IPL cricket if they get selected. So interesting to see that. It will be very very interesting. A good point was made in here by Werner. I saw him saying that with the Brevis, for example, the other teams will be probably try to mess with the RCB by bidding for Deelwald. So that's interesting as well. Um, I'm I'm looking at the list as well, and I'm looking at some of the names, and I'm trying to think if there are any guys that have been omitted from the team, or omitted from this mega ocean that maybe we would have thought would have been selected. Like someone like Temba, for example, was someone that
Captain,
was being,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
has been floating around, which I'm surprised that he hasn't maybe put his name in for this draft.
If there was ever an opportunity for Temba to put his hat in the ring for the IPL, this is it. This is
Mm.
absolutely it. And whether it's in South African conditions or whether it's in spinning conditions in Chennai, I'd love to see him play for Chennai. I don't know why, but he'd be the perfect candidate. And his profile has certainly risen in the last 4 or 5 months, certainly since the World T20. And yeah, I would have loved to see him uh, in an IPL team. I don't
Mm.
know. Hopefully, something that he can talk about in the near future.
Lawrence raised something that I also want to know. Will you be coming down if it's here?
Done, brother. Done. Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. We're gonna have to get you accreditation for that particular tour, of course. That's going to have to happen. I'll see what I can do. I don't know how it works for the IPL. Is going to be very difficult. I don't know how it works for the IPL because I never worked at the IPL as a journalist when it was here last. I was still in school at that time, so yeah, we both were actually.
You should release a picture of that of that time.
I was I was I was I was helping Murathan. I was explaining to Murathan what the dishes were. He was asking me about what was in it because he's vegetarian. He couldn't eat meat, so he wanted to know what was being served and if it was chicken or it was vegetarian or the roti and all of the stuff that was being served. So I was trying to help him out. He was a very nice guy. I really enjoyed chatting to him as well. He was very respectful. There was someone that was very disrespectful. I can't remember who he was. And I got a little bit short and irritated with him and told him to dish himself because he thought he basically told me dish. And I was like, not a chance, you dish yourself. I'm not here to serve you. I was just here to make sure that I was here to look after the place and make sure nothing burns down and that everybody's doing their job. I thought it was very rude. He could have asked me nicely. Maybe I would have dished him some food, but he was quite rude. I can't remember who it was, to be fair. Um, but yeah, anyway, guys, that's all we have for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell for all future videos. I will try to get hold of David again when he's in England, when he's more settled. If you guys want to see an interview with him and let him come chat when he's a lot more when the everything has died down a bit. But I'm not sure how many of you guys actually want to still hear from him now that the story is out. So yeah, I will try and do my best. We will try to be getting more interviews as well this week. I'm trying my best to get some of the guys on here as well as much as possible. So let's do it. Um, I'm going to be obviously when COVID dies down, and supporters are back in the stadiums again. Like Lawrence is asking. I mean, fan cam ideas in cricket was kind of my idea in South African cricket. I started them in with regards to doing them on digitally. That's how I met Aditya actually. So fan cams is an idea that I'm obviously going to be doing again when COVID is allows us to do it. I couldn't do it now because no fans in the stadium, of course. But when fans are allowed again, we will definitely be doing fan cams and getting you guys' reaction. So don't worry about that. It will be coming very, very soon. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Click that notification bell for future videos as well. Also, subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. Also, don't forget to go and watch our Ryan Rickleton exclusive interview. Some excellent insight were given over there. So it was really, really insightful, that particular interview. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care.